Hello, today we'll see the mod operations. We'll start with integers. So this is the mod operator. We can go into documentation. Returns the remainder after dividing two ints. Uses truncated division, which returns a negative number if the dividend is negative. If this is not desired, consider using pos mod. We'll see this one later. Here we are dividing an odd number by 2, so we get 1. We can also set the number to the remainder. And we get the same. Now, since this is division, we cannot use 0. If we try to do that, we get an error. Modulo by 0 error in operator mod. Now, let's create two variables. The dividend, which is an integer, and a divisor. Now let's get the integer division. Let's get the float division. Now, since both of these are integers, we'll turn one of them into a float using a float constructor. Let's get the mod. And this is a temporary variable. Divisor times int division. So let's go to our label. So we just say that dividend divided by the divisor will give us the quotient of the float division. Let's also add the integer division. Now for this I'm going to use a right arrow. We can do that by using the Windows flag and the period. To open up the emoji menu, go to the symbols and select the arrow. Another way to open this menu would be with the Windows flag and semicolon. A Google search for Linux has given 3 choices. If you are on Mac, you should be able to use Command Control Space. If the emoji menu still doesn't open up, we can use string.chr. This method takes a number and returns a Unicode symbol. The number for the right arrow is 2192. So let's try it. And we got the wrong character. So let's try 0x. And now we get a symbol. This one was a hexadecimal number, so we need the 0x over here. Its decimal form is 8594. And we get the arrow again. Now let's add the integer division. So what this is telling us is that the division would give us 7.25, but if we only keep the integer part, we get 7. Let's continue. Now I use the plus equals to add more text. We use the /n to change lines. And now we're gonna multiply our divisor with the int div. And this will give us this variable. Now we can already tell that the remainder is 1. 29 minus 28. So let's write that. And we get 29 minus 28 equals 1. Finally, let's show our mode as well. And as expected, we get 1. Okay, that was for positive numbers. Now what happens if the divisor is negative? We get a minus on the results. Minus 4 times minus 7, it gives us 28. So the remainder remains the same. Nothing has changed. What happens if the dividend is negative? The result is also negative. 4 times minus 7 is equal to minus 28. And now we have minus 29 minus minus the plus 28. So we get minus 1. And that's what the mode operator returns. And if both are negative, the result will be positive. Minus 4 times 7 gives us minus 28. And that will still give us minus 1. So, the result of the mod operator will always have the same sign as the dividend. Now we'll also see the posmod function. Returns the integer modulus of x divided by y that wraps equally in positive and negative. Here it has an example. Posmod will ensure that the result will have the same sign as the divisor. The divisor is positive, so from our mod result we just add 3 and we get 1. If it's minus 1, we add 3 and we get 2. And if it's positive, we leave it as it is. So let's make a few changes. First of all, positive numbers. Now we'll add the posmod. I'll add an underscore so that it doesn't overshadow the function. Dividend, divisor. Okay, so we'll change our label. Dividend, mod, our divisor, is equal to the mod. Now we'll use if. The sign. This is a function that returns -1 for negative numbers, 1 for positive numbers, and 0 for 0. If the sign of the divisor is not the same as the sign of mod, we add to our label we have to add the value of the divisor to the mod. So strmod plus the divisor and finally we also show the result of posmod. Let's write posmod over here. Dividend, comma, divisor. And this would be posmod. This is the variable we created over here. For positive numbers, we get the same result. Also, I forgot the parentheses. Hold on. So both mod and posmod give us 1. If we change the sign of the divisor, now we get a different result. That's because we get 1 and the sign is different. We have negative, positive. So we add the divisor to the remainder and we get -3. If just the dividend is negative, the divisor has different sign from the mod. We add the divisor to the mod and we get 3, which is the result of posmod. Now if both are negative, both the divisor and the mod have negative sign. So pos mod gives us the same result as mod. One last thing, with pos mod, y cannot be 0. For example, 5,0 gives us an error. Division by 0 in pos mod is undefined. However, it does return 0. While this is an error, it will not pause the execution. Okay, this lasted more than I expected, so in the next video we'll move on to mod operations on float numbers. Till next time.